Hello class. In this video I'm going to talk about Samuel Hellman and Deborah S. Hellman's argument opposing clinical research trials. Now if their argument is correct, if it's a good one, it has a very radical implication, and that is that our current practice of using human test subjects to find new treatments, whether these treatments are new surgical procedures, whether they're new pharmaceutical drugs, this practice needs to be abandoned. And the reason this is so radical is because currently this is the standard for finding new treatments. In fact, the FDA requires that all new pharmaceutical drugs that hit the market and become available for public consumption must be tested on human subjects prior to. Now they're going to be tested in a controlled fashion, but they must be tested on humans first. So if Hellman and Hellman are right, we need to find some alternative way of finding new medical treatments. Okay, so their argument for this starts with the premise that these research trials, they place the medical professionals who are in charge of the trial in a sort of ethical dilemma. Now, how does this ethical dilemma arise? I think the best way to explain this is by an example. So imagine that I'm a doctor and that you're my patient. And that you have a particular illness. Imagine also that I'm a researcher for a pharmaceutical company that's testing a new drug, and this drug is intended to treat the particular illness that you have. And this new drug is also, it has the potential to be vastly more effective than any drug that's on the market today. Okay, so I recommend that you take part in this research trial. It has the potential to treat your illness better than any other drug. And you agree, and you start the trial. Now, just like any research trial, there's going to be a control group and there's going to be an experimental group. Patients who are placed in the control group receive either the standard treatment that's on the market or a placebo. Patients who are in the experimental group receive the new drug that's being tested. Okay, now this is a double-blind study, which means that I, as a researcher, I don't know which patients fall into which group. But imagine that halfway through the trial, say it's several weeks into the trial, I notice that you are doing remarkably worse than the rest of the subjects in the trial. Now, nobody's told me which group you've been placed into, but I can just tell that you're doing far worse. I can see your symptoms. And it looks pretty bad compared to the other patients. At this point in the trial, Hellman and Hellman say that I am in an ethical dilemma. The dilemma is this: I can either tell you to stay in the trial to the trial's end, or I can tell you to drop out of the trial. Why would I tell you to drop out of the trial? Well, because I have an obligation as your doctor to do what's best for you. This is the obligation of beneficence. I am supposed to do whatever I think is in my best judgment to best promote your health and well-being. And it appears at this point that that's to take you out of the trial and put you on whatever drug I've learned up to this point is the best drug for your particular illness. However, if I tell you to drop out of the trial, I seem to be violating another obligation that I have, which is my obligation as a researcher to maintain the integrity of the trial. The best way to get good results in these trials is to have all of the subjects stay in the trial for the whole duration of the trial. If we have some patients dropping out, some staying in, it's going to really jeopardize the results. Okay, so I'm in a bind here. I can either violate my obligation as a researcher, or I can violate my obligation as a doctor, doing what's best for you. Now, Hellman and Hellman think because there's this ethical bind that's present in all research trials, we should abandon these research trials and search for some alternative method of finding treatments. Now, in their article, they explore some objections to their argument, and I'm not going to go over these in this video right now, but I encourage you to read over them. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.